Progress. It's just now recording? Okay. Welcome, everyone, to SVES, our April 2nd, 2023 meeting. I'm happy to welcome everyone here. We have a really special guest this morning. First, though, I want to start with our reasons for gathering. We gather to deepen our sense of the meaningfulness of life, to shine light on the ideas with which we guide our choices, to give us courage to take the higher path, and to get to know one another over time in appreciation of each one's unique and incomparable worth. And together, we work for a world where love and justice cross all borders. I'll let someone else read the mission statement later, but first I want to start with a quote I found from the author Kathy Freston, who wrote Quantum Wellness. She says, "I think that food ties us to our community and to our traditions, and it's the thing that makes us feel good and connected." And with that, I'd like to introduce our guest today, Farida Zaid. And Farida has been a part of our community actively for 36 years. When I was reading her profile, I was just blown away because everything she does exemplifies our humanist values. So I'm really happy she's here today. She pursued her doctorate in social psychology at the University of Texas at Austin, and soon thereafter became the executive director for the Union Snyder Agency on Aging. And within this capacity, she's created the Living Communities Project, which aims to engage area seniors to stay active in their community. She writes a blog called Aging with Enthusiasm, in which ideas are shared to inspire ways of living a full and fulfilling life throughout all of our ages and stages. Her skills have been invaluable to the mission of the Community Zone, which she co-founded 10 years ago. Some of her Community Zone projects include the Youth Empowerment Program, technology tutoring, the Lewisburg Time Bank, which our own Jen Baer kind of touched on that idea last time when we gathered, and she gathered up lists of all of our skills, talents, and things that we could offer each other. So I think we should really look into that. She represents Union and Snyder counties in Harrisburg to the Central Region Pennsylvania Council on Aging and the statewide Social Isolation Task Force. Her work with the Walnut Acres Foundation has helped to immortalize the legacy of Paul Keene in creating sustainable agriculture, health, education, and community. And most recently, she's created a website fostering connections among older members of our community with a purpose to live vibrant lives, contributing positively to our community and beyond. Today, Farida is sharing with us a new program she's developing, a community cooking club. And in the spirit of her project, she continues her work connecting people and community for the good of all.
Well, thank you.
Welcome, Farida.
Those things are no more, but that's what happens when you try to do everything. I'd like to just make this more of a discussion. So I have things written here, and I'll just go through them, and you can stop me at any point. Okay. This started out being called a cooking club, but the more I talked to people and did the survey, the more I realized that that was really just a very small part of what we wanted to do. So someone suggested the word collective, and I thought, well, that's good. That can cover everything. So I have the objectives here. I'm just going to go down them, and you can chime in if you want. The first one is to reduce social isolation by creating opportunities for adults of all ages to share their interest in food. Obviously, social isolation is a huge problem, not just for older people. And the Pennsylvania Council on Aging is interested in that, and I'm on the regional council, and we did some work with social isolation. But it isn't only just older people, and it isn't only the pandemic. It's just a constant issue. And I think bringing people around food and doing something together, not just talking or feeling uncomfortable at a party where you don't know anybody, but, chopping onions and sharing recipes is good. The second part, supporting local farmers and producers. The Bucknell Institute for Lifelong Learning had a really good program about agriculture. And one of the things that I don't think I'll ever forget is that the person who produces the food makes about 7 cents of the dollar that's spent on food. And a big portion of it goes to the wholesalers and the retailers. So I figure anything that we can do to buy directly from the farmers and make their lives easier is good. So that's what number 2 is all about. I don't think there is a directory of local farmers, but it's pretty lacking. And I just went to a listening session that was held here for women in agriculture, which was really interesting. And I learned a lot about what issues are involved if you're a woman in agriculture, and they're pretty significant. So anything that we can do to help them by putting them in a directory, encouraging people to visit their farms if they want. One of them said, "I know if you come to my farm, that one of the animals is going to die right in front of you." I said, "We can take it. It's life. Don't let that stop you." So one of my favorite things is this mini CSA. Does everybody know what a CSA is? Community supported agriculture. I mean, I'm very much in favor of them, but there's drawbacks to a lot of people, especially if you're a single person and you don't need a giant bunch of food every week, or you don't have the upfront money. One of the ones that I like at the farmers market is doing one, and I think it's either $600 or $700 to put out upfront. That's good if you have it, but if you don't. So I'm trying to do a pilot project where I'm going to work with one Mennonite farm that I like very much. She's a friend of mine. I don't know if any of you know Yvonne Smith. She's from Guyana. And she is the most particular person about food. Like if she wants an eggplant, it's got to be a female eggplant. Mm-hmm. So if I bring her the wrong one, I'm in deep trouble. So she has this woman growing Guyanese vegetables, the 12-inch beans and the what's that called? Callaloo. So this woman's kind of flexible. So I want to work with them that we would have 5 people. It's going to be a little trial. And we would have 2 sets of canvas bags. And every Wednesday, she would put in, like, if they decide they want to pay $15 a week, she would put in $15 worth of stuff. And we're working with the Miller Center and some of the people there that are in Silver Sneakers. So Wednesday's the farmers market. So they would take turns. Someone would get the 5 bags, bring them to the Miller Center, and they said we could leave them there. And then the person could pick it. Hopefully they're coming after Silver Sneakers, so they didn't have to make an extra trip. And then I want to do the same thing in town. And the community zone said we could put the bags here. So especially for people who work downtown and they don't have time to go to the market, or if you're an older person or anybody, it's tricky in that parking lot. There's kids and trailers and people carrying big bags of potatoes, not looking where they're going. And it's not the easiest thing to navigate if you have any kind of mobility problem. So, and then we'll see how it goes. I don't want to do it too big because I want to work some of the bugs out. Like, what are they going to pick, and are they going to argue about how many potatoes or what, or how flexible will people be? The third one is to reduce food costs. And one of my big issues is I like to buy fresh spices. And I like Spices Inc., but if I get a little thing like this, it's like $6. And if I get a pound, it's maybe $20.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. So I overbuy and then I have this stuff left over. So to work out some things where we could share stuff like spices or even things that you buy and you don't like, but they're still in date, you could share it.
Yeah.
Every time we meet, we could have a table, just please take it. So that's another thing. And then the fourth one is more to do with the classes, food prep skills. And I have, every time I go to a restaurant and it's somebody I like, I see if they want to do a cooking class. And so far, nobody's turned me down. So, Boy from Siam, Vito from La Primavera. He's such a nice man. I can't wait to take something, even if it's spaghetti sauce, because it's so good. Tomahawk Tacos. Is anybody familiar with him? He's even going to let us use this restaurant. But I told him, I don't want to ask for everything for free, especially from somebody who's struggling. He only is open now once a week. So we made an arrangement. If we use it, we'll pay him $10 for every person as, like a rental fee. But that gives us a whole commercial kitchen, a whole place to eat. So that's good. And we didn't have a whole lot of interest in knife skills, but I'm working on that myself, and it really does make a difference. If you don't dread cutting an onion, it's like, oh, this challenge, let's see, ding, 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 ding. We can like throw that in to a class without making a whole class, sneak it in. By the way, you know how to cut this garlic really well. Let's see. And then supporting members in crisis. That would be anybody that's in the group or anybody that we hear about. And one of the people that sent in a questionnaire, she works with a group called Eat Share. Did anybody ever hear that? I never heard of it. And it's the simplest. I tend to get into complicated multi things, but all it is a website. And if you need food, you put your location in. And then if you're willing to do it, you match. And that's it. And I think she's out of Williamsport. So I want to let people know about that because it's just really interesting. And I think it's a 501(c). And normally 501(c)s aren't that simple. They have all kinds of stuff, but this seems like very single purpose. And then also if the Hunger Coalition needs help or anybody in the area that's related to an organization, we would tell our members about it if they needed volunteers. So meeting spaces have been an issue because I'm not a 501(c). I'm not even a nonprofit informal. I do the Union County Connect, which is a website, and I think I might have put it under there, but I'm trying to keep it very community based and not have to go to some board or, get $1 million worth of insurance and all that kind of stuff. I want it to be like friends. So if anybody can propose a cooking class, I've done them in my house before, and when I tried to do it as a mini business, the borough was quite uncooperative. Like for instance, I could only have 6 people, but I needed 10 off-street parking spaces. And I won't get into their formula for that because it's too crazy. So if somebody here wanted to do a class, they could say, okay, the food costs are going to be $60 and there's 6 of you, so I want $10 for food. If you want to give a donation, here's a jar, and that person could keep it. They could say, if you want to give a donation to the Hunger Coalition, if you want to give a donation to whatever, But if the person does it for a living or for business, then they can charge what they want to charge, and it would be okay. So the Himmelreich, I have people here that don't have kitchens, but so many people are interested in cooking for one or two that now I'm planning a class on how to do everything in a toaster oven. So I wouldn't even have to have a place with a kitchen. I just have a toaster oven. I'm learning to steam in it and do. I love experimenting. So I guess the most promising one is the Lewisburg Senior Center, because that's got a kitchen and they're free on Fridays. So I kind of made a trade. I told them if they gave me this space for free, we'd do some programming for the senior center. So, and then the lifelong learning office is available to any member. So I'm a member, so I can have like discussion groups there. And we've got the tacos, and we've got some members that are willing to share their garden or whatever. So we're building up the meeting spaces. The survey, I now have 40 back, and if you want to fill it out, there's the Bitly Cooking Club survey thing. So there's a huge interest in Mediterranean. I mean, it must have been 80%, because that's kind of the thing now. Which, since I have a background with Egyptians, that's kind of cool for me. Japanese was second, which is, I can't find a Japanese teacher. So I think a lot of the chefs around here don't speak any English, which would be challenging, but we could get a translator. Mexican, French, and Southern US. I think 75 or more percent wanted to work with local ingredients, which is great because that's what we want to do. Cooking for one or two. A huge interest in mushrooms. So I found this farm, Deep Hollow Forest Farm, and they take tours, and they actually have like a forage forest. So that'd be a really cool trip. And then people were interested in the joint purchases. Even if it were like apples, if you go, nothing worse than going to the farmer's market and wanting 4 apples, like 4 apples or $3. But then if you've got like a thing of 30 and divided them up, it's maybe at least 30% less. So, I'm sure we can come up with some ways to do things. And then this is just a list of other ideas. The Serenity Gardens, they were in the newspaper. That's a really interesting place. Just 2 sisters that decided to do a tea house in their own house. Cool. And they have this kind of like Victorian looking thing. And I had to book like 3 months in advance, because they do it once a week. And you can have from 2 to 8 people. And I said I made a reservation for 8. I don't have the 8 yet, but you have to give everybody's name and if they have any allergies, and then she sends you a menu, and it's really cool. I don't know how she got away with doing it in her house, but I don't care where we're going.
Sounds neat.
And there's other places that I'm sure we don't know and nobody knows about. The Shanty Secrets. They're out of Danville, and they do local, specialize in vegan and local produce. We had a dinner there, Phyllis and I went, and they have a cooking school. And so we're going to tell people about whatever's available. So down here with this Pinterest board, I'm pretty excited about this because I haven't really seen anything like it. Which I always remind myself, if I think of something that nobody's done before, there could be like a really good reason. But we'll have different boards like this is a little hard to read, but food justice. I think someone in the Hunger Coalition talked about having a reading group on food justice books. So we would post some pictures of books, and if that was in play, people could look and see. oh, I could join this book club. Um, Meal planning issues. That you can't see that book, but Leftovers A to Z is a new book, and it's like totally amazing. I mean, she's got making soup out of wilted lettuce. Some of it sounds horrible, but I made an asparagus soup with, you know, the ends of the asparagus that you usually throw away. Boil it for 15 minutes in chicken broth or vegetable broth. Then you puree it and you put a pat of butter in it. And it was like totally delicious. But so that's a really cool book. And then members can post favorite recipes or some, you know, good idea that they came across. And then we'll have our forms and surveys. So I want to make it so if somebody in another community wanted to do the same thing, they could. They could use our materials, cooking techniques, information about the pilot, trips, a good directory of the local producers and restaurants and stuff, something about our instructors. So they get some publicity, like here's a picture of Vito in the kitchen and we're all making meatballs or something. And then partners and friends. So anybody that's donated space or done anything, we can list them so they get some publicity. And then food sharing ideas, soup swaps. I've always wanted to do one of those.
Me too.
So I found a pretty good article about how to do it, and I like that you give out. Everybody has a sample, so before you take it, you try it, and classes, and then any community service things that occur. So that's that, and then I have areas that people can help with on the get involved part because, oops, there's a typo in there. Like coordinating an event, like if somebody really knows that some people want to go to Rodale Institute, which is a really interesting place, you know, if they would be responsible for signing people up and coordinating an event or working on the Pinterest board, because some people who we want in it aren't on Pinterest or don't know how to do a pin, so we have to do that. And researching, like finding some of the most obscure farms and things, it's just not common knowledge. So researching that. So that's that.
So are you